welcome to our episode 1 of our Old Heroes New Age series. I'm so excited for us to dive into this series together because we are going to be taking time looking at something that I love deeply, and it's stories. I come from a family of storytellers, and I always grew up waiting for Christmas or holidays because I could hear stories from my uncles, from my grandpa, from my grandma, from my dad, whoever it might be. My family is full of people that love to share and tell stories. And the reason I love them so much is because they can be fun, they can be enjoyable, but they can also be inspiring or challenging, or they can teach you new things. And guys, I think it is so important that we pay attention to stories, especially the ones that we're going to be diving into over the next few weeks, and that's stories of the Old Testament. Now, if you don't know what the Old Testament is, it is the first half of the Bible, and it is about the story of people before Jesus came. The Israelites and God's relationship with them and how he built his nation and he built up his people and what it looked like. And I think if you've grown up in the church, you have heard so many of these stories, and you'll probably hear or know about some of the people we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. But the thing is, just because you've heard the story once doesn't mean you fully know it. Because something that I love about the Old Testament, and it's a huge reason why I love reading through it, not just the fact that it's amazing stories, but it's stories about humanity, about the reality of people's shortcomings and failings, about their triumphs and about their goodwill, or about their perspectives that are just wrong. There's just something so humanizing about reading these stories because I see myself in them. You can hear about David, or you can hear about Goliath, or you can hear about Samson, you can hear about all these Old Testament heroes, and you can automatically think these are grand stories, these are stories that I can't live up to. I'm not going to have to fight a giant, I'm not going to have to scare a lion off, I'm not going to have to become king. But if you really pay attention to the words that are shared, if you really pay attention to what you are reading, there is humanity in this story, and if you really look at it, you can see yourself. And it may not happen every time you read it, but you might come to a certain point in your life where all of a sudden the story makes much more sense because for some reason you've experienced something that allows you to resonate with it, that allows you to see the struggle of what somebody is going through or see what God is trying to do, and you may not have been able to grasp it before, but now you can. And so we're going to be diving into these stories, and I want to be challenging you guys over the next few weeks to, as we go through them, ask yourselves, where do I see myself in this? Where do I see myself in this character? Where do I see myself in their failings? Where do I see myself in their success? Where do I see myself in what God is trying to teach them? And then what am I going to do about it? What am I going to take from it and learn from it? So today, guys, we are going to dive into the story of Noah. And if you've heard the story of Noah, it's a pretty big one. It's one that is taught all the way through children's Bible school. It's something you learn about in Sundays, and I even colored pictures of when I was 6 years old. It's a story about Noah building the ark and filling it with all the animals of the world and the great flood coming. But the thing is if you really read through the story, there's so much more information there. There's so much more information there that I think if we pay attention to it, we can really resonate with. And so I want to catch you up with what's going on in Noah's story. See, here what you need to know is the world had become a wicked place. People were running rampant with doing horrible and evil things, and God didn't like it. God was unhappy and God was dismayed, and he decided he wanted to do something about it. And what he decided to do was he's going to wipe the slate clean. He was going to wash all the wicked people away, and he was going to rebuild a better world. And Noah and his family had found favor in God, and so God had called Noah to build the ark, to gather the animals, to prepare his family, to supply with food, and to be prepared for what was to come. And I want us to look at what happens to Noah's family, what they experience once the rain starts to pour. And it's in Genesis 7, verses 11 through 12, and here's what it says. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. You see, they get in the ark and they're prepared for this to happen, and all of a sudden the rain starts to come, floods start to happen, and they're in there for 40 days and 40 nights, and we hear 40 days and 40 nights. And as you're reading through this story, as we go through what Noah and his family are experiencing, I want to say it and I want to see if you maybe have experienced something similar. All of a sudden, Noah's family experienced a world that got turned upside down. All of a sudden, they were confined into a small space for days upon days upon days. They were in this small space, confined, trapped, confused, scared, not knowing what was going on outside, not knowing how it would affect them, what would come. They didn't have answers. And I'm wondering if you guys can read through this story, see what they were experiencing, and it reminds you of something else. Because guys, in this last year, I think we experienced a world that got turned upside down. We got turned upside down, and all of a sudden we found ourselves confined to small spaces. Stuck with zero answers and no clarity, no understanding, worry of what was going on outside, what it meant for us, how it could affect us, because we didn't have answers for it. Can you read that and understand the fear, the confusion, the frustration that Noah and his family might have been feeling? Can you resonate with where they were at? Because I started reading Genesis while COVID was going on, and for the first time in my life, guys, I felt like I understood. I understood where Noah was at. I understood what Noah was experiencing, and all of a sudden, I felt like God was teaching me something new. Teaching me something important. And I want to dive in with you guys to that today. I want us to dive in what God might be trying to not just teach me this year, but possibly teach you. Because you see, we've experienced a world that has been turned upside down. Something that we've felt trapped in, something we've felt scared in. But what can we learn from it? And the funny thing is we might read through Noah's story in those last few verses and say 40 days and 40 nights, that is not a big deal. But guys, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because what you need to understand is they were not in that ark for 40 days and 40 nights. They were in it for much longer. And I want to read another verse. It's in Genesis 8, verses 3 through 5. And here's what it says. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountain of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Guys, what you need to understand is at this point, we are not even close to them being done in the ark, and they've already been in it for 150 days. 150 days on top of the 40 days, and then they're experiencing waiting. You go into verses of them waiting, and they see the tops of the mountains, but they're still not ready to come out. And then they see that the water is receded, but the land is still too wet. But finally, guys, the earth is dry. The earth is dry, and they are able to come out. They are able to come out, and when they come out, God has a covenant for them. But before we get to the covenant, I want to look at this. Because you see, I read through these verses about what they're experiencing. I read through these verses about how they see hope. They see things going back to normal. They see something changing. But yet they still have to wait. They still have to wait a little bit longer. Be a little bit more patient. And I don't know about you guys, but that's where I'm at right now. I keep seeing glimpses of the world going back to what I remember it being like, or what I hope it used to be like, and then still having to wait. still having to be careful, still needing to be informed, still having to practice CDC ruling, things that matter, guys. It's important that we pay attention. But I don't know about you, it's frustrating. It's frustrating and aggravating, and sometimes it can make me feel like nothing's ever going to change. Life is always going to feel like this limbo. And I read these verses, and once again, I understand how Noah and his family might feel. And I wonder if you can understand as well. Where have you found yourself in this season of COVID? Are you frustrated? Are you angry? Are you tired? Are you scared? Where are you finding yourself as we continue to see a glimpse of where we are heading, but still having to be waiting and still having to be patient? Where do you see yourself in that? And then finally, guys, I want to see what happens once they are finally out of the ark, because I think it matters. You see, the earth finally dries, the land is able to have animals and people on it again, and they leave the ark, and God makes a covenant with Noah and his family. He gives them dominion over the animals. He tells them to go and multiply, but ultimately what God is telling them to do is to rebuild. Start over. Build something new, build something better, build something in his honor and his glory. And I think he's calling the same for us. Because you see, you can look at the story of Noah and the ark and you can think him building the ark was the hard work. You can think him getting the animals was the hard work. You can think him and his family surviving the storm and waiting out the flood was the hard work. But I think God really gives the hard work here, the important work, the work to rebuild. And that's what I want to ask you guys today. Because as we head out of 2020 and head into 2021, as we start to understand COVID a little bit better and process through what it has done to us or what we have learned from it, there's something that God is calling from us as well. In some way, God is calling us to rebuild. It might be the way you do school, it might be your work ethic, it might be your family, it might be your social skills or your social dynamics, it might be your athletics, it might be yourself, it might be your mental health. But as we've spent this last year in a season of frustrating, waiting, with anxiety, with fear, with mourning, how do we start to rebuild? And I want you to ask yourself, where do I see God calling me to rebuild something? Is it me? Is it my health? Is it my family? Is it my friends? Is it how I interact at school? Whatever it might be, God is giving us an opportunity to rebuild something in this season. To rebuild something better than when we first had it. Better than before COVID, because I think, and I don't know about you guys, I think God has taken COVID and called a lot out in us. He's called a lot out in me and how I view things and how I do things and what I value and what I prioritize. And I feel like I'm having to challenge myself as I head into what you could call this new world. How do I be better? How do I come out of this season stronger? So that I can do God's work better, so that I can glorify him better, so that I can maybe be better prepared for the world to be turned upside down again. And that's what I want you guys to be asking yourselves today. Because you see, God makes this covenant with Noah and he calls him to rebuild, and they rebuild and they create, generations, more and more humans. They populate the earth, but here's what's interesting. Is they don't do it perfectly. Eventually, men starts to fall into its old habits, its habits of prioritizing themselves, as their habits of selfishness, deceit, the habits of murder and wickedness, whatever it might be. And guys, we can do that too. We might not be going out and murdering people, but there are things about us that aren't God-honoring, that aren't healthy. Things we might use as an escape, things we use as defense mechanisms, lies that we believe about ourselves, ways that we engage in community, ways that we choose to protect ourselves from valuing others because it's uncomfortable. There are so many different ways that we turn away from God to build a life that makes us feel safe, makes us feel comfortable. Than building something that honors God, glorifies Him, shares His love, and creates change. So, this is what I'm challenging you with. How do you resonate with Noah's story? How were you in the beginning of COVID? What scared you? How did it make you feel? How were you in the waiting that is happening right now of wanting things to go back, but still having to be careful? But then finally, what is God calling you to rebuild? What is God calling you to work on? And what's the first step you can take to work on it? Whether it's talking to a friend, talking to a parent, going to counseling, finding better practices, whatever it might be, what is the next step, the first one at least, you can take to start rebuilding? All right, guys, stay tuned for announcements. Hey guys, and welcome to Impact News. Woo, woo, woo!
Woo!
I know, we're here with you guys to give you the scoop on what's going on. So we got quite a few announcements for you. So Chip, take it away.
Well, we'll start off with our weekly Bible study. It continues with John on Wednesday, 7 o'clock at South Lake. Please be there. And secondly, we have our rally night, again, is on the 23rd of May. Doors open at 6:30 South Barrington. There is a mask requirement, but be there for fun and just community, and hope to see you there.
Yes. Now, guys, also on the 23rd, this is if you are a senior. Now, if you are graduating senior, I want you to understand that you can attend Impact all the way until you leave for college in August. So there's no need to worry that you can't show up anymore in the summer, but we want to let you guys know that on Sunday the 23rd during the 11 a.m. service, malfunction. In person Impact. Show up for Impact in person week. We want to pray over you. We want to honor you, and we want to give you a gift. What?
Whoa!
I know. But guys, if you can't make it in person because you're not comfortable or you're just busy that day, you can also email me at vbailey@willowcreek.org, and we will mail your gift to you. We want you to have your gift. We want you to feel celebrated. So if you are graduating senior, please show up on the 23rd or email me. And
So
then,
does that mean, Ronnie, that we know, since we can mail it, that the gift is not a new car?
it's not.
Okay, I thought so.
No new car. I didn't get a car. What are you talking about? But
I think we gave you luggage, you know?
I think
Here you go.
I got a Bible, which is like, yay. I'm just kidding. The Bible's great. But guys, and then the next thing is Sandblast Registration is open. It is early bird pricing right now. So if you want to get the cheapest price for Sandblast, make sure you register by today. What? I know, right? I think price goes up today. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And guys, if finances is what makes it difficult for you guys to come to camp, we do have financial aid and you can apply for it. We include the link to that in the parent e-news, but it's also on the website where you register for camp. We can help make camp more affordable so that you can go. So please don't let prices be what stop you from coming. Guys, all right, so those are all the announcements we have for today, but here's the last and big thing is this is Chip's final Impact News.
Very last.
I know.
I hope we can say it was my best. You know, the hair, you know, it is what it is, but it comes and goes, right?
I mean,
It's been fun. It's been a blast, and I'm going to miss doing these with you, Ronnie, and being part of the family, but things change, and so is my situation. So this is my last.
yeah. We're we're gonna miss you too. I definitely think this was probably one of your best Impact Newses. Not.
It was my best, right? I finished strong.
You finished so strong. I like stumbled all the way through it. Yeah, guys. So if you want to send Chip a thank you or appreciate him or just let him know that he's loved for all the time that he has served with us, which has been over 2 years. Long time, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? So
Goes fast.
I know. We love you. We'll miss you. And from now on, announcements will just be with this guy. So
Love you guys too. So we'll see you soon in the funny papers, as they say.
yeah. All right, guys. This is Ronnie.
And Chip, for the last time, signing off.
All right. Enjoy small groups.